Tonight, the Corruption Commission claims a scalp. Disgraced Liberal MP Darryl Maguire to resign from Parliament. Secret recordings uncovered of Donald Trump while the President is in hot water. Controversial new plan to weigh children in schools to tackle obesity. And the Newcastle Knights claw their way to victory in a thriller against the Titans.
This is NBN News with Tyson Cottrill.
Good evening. It's taken a week, but disgraced MP Darryl Maguire is finally falling on his sword. Embroiled in a corruption scandal, he's told the Premier he'll resign from Parliament before it returns, after trying to cling to his seat and his taxpayer salary.
Fresh from holidays, the Premier wasting no time announcing Darryl Maguire is himself going away.
He advised me of his intention to resign from Parliament before Parliament resumes.
Calling the disgraced MP this morning, Gladys Berejiklian eager to end the corruption saga surrounding the member for Wagga Wagga, who just 5 days ago refused to quit.
Well, I won't resign. I'm not going to resign.
The centre of the Corruption Commission inquiry into Canterbury Council, Maguire admitted to brokering property deals for Chinese developers, tapped phone calls revealing his efforts to make a profit on the side.
If he's going to give you 1.5%, that's not enough. Well, 1.5% isn't enough divided by 2, if you know what I'm talking about.
The moment that phone tap was played in the ICAC hearing room, a strong Premier would have got on the phone to the MP and said, "You are gone, Buster. You're out. You resign now, or I'll announce I'll kick you out myself."
It was my view that he should consider his position. Clearly he's done that.
Cutting ties with the Liberal Party and plans to sit as an independent until the March election wasn't enough for the Premier or the very people who voted Maguire in.
It's about time. Yeah, it is. If you get caught out, you've got to cop the penalty.
I was happy with Darryl, but I do know that things weren't exactly good for him. I think it's the honourable thing to do.
The people of Wagga Wagga deserve clean representation in the state parliament. They haven't had it.
It's a crime scene that's hard to miss. A gaping hole in the front of a Sydney home caused by an out-of-control ute. But the driver who did the damage has done a disappearing act, despite being caught on camera in the chaotic moments after the crash.
Careering out of control at high speed, a ute mounts the footpath, ploughing through a tree and rubbish bins, then through a fence and into the living room of this Kellyville home. The driver, barefoot and on the phone, walks away from the chaos as neighbours, including Greg Winston, race to help.
Because the car was completely blocking the room, I had to climb over the back of the ute to get to the other side and make sure there was no one under the lounge or anywhere else in the house. Yeah, I was quite relieved to find no one there.
But what happened in the moments after the collision at 2:30 yesterday afternoon stunned everybody. After making a phone call, the driver speaks briefly with bystanders before jumping in a woman's car and fleeing the scene.
It's just incredible that someone could do that. There's no excuse.
Rosina Edling's parked car was written off in the carnage.
Oh, I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry.
Those first on scene say it's incredible the driver escaped any serious injury, walking away with just a small graze on his arm. But they say he did appear to be in shock and told them he'd been changing the radio station when the collision occurred. He's believed to live locally and police are continuing to hunt for him. Neighbours are just relieved no one was hurt.
Being school holidays and parents often walk their children along the footpath here and kids ride their bicycles.
We're just grateful that no one was injured.
Alice Monfries, NBN News.
It's a case of deja vu for Donald Trump. The US president has yet again been secretly caught on tape talking about a woman. This time it's an ex-Playboy star, Mr. Trump's former lawyer, recording their alleged discussion about a payoff.
Michael Cohen was Donald Trump's Mr. Fix-It, a personal lawyer who knew the president's secrets and had many of them on tape, including a recorded conversation where Trump allegedly discussed payment to former Playboy model Karen McDougal about covering up an affair.
First of all, it was brief. And second of all, though a payment to McDougal was discussed, it was never acted upon.
The conversation is alleged to have taken place at Trump Tower 2 months before he won the 2016 election. If payment was to be made, the then presidential candidate advised Cohen to pay by cheque so a record was kept. And now a friendship has emerged between Cohen and the lawyer for Stormy Daniels.
I will tell you for a fact, there's more than one. There's multiple recordings, and all of them should be released for the benefit of the American public.
President Trump denies the affair, which apparently took place in 2006, shortly after his wife Melania gave birth to their son Barron. A tape could undercut that denial.
We were together 10 months before I chose to end it. So we saw each other quite frequently.
So dozens of times you were together?
Many dozens of times,
and you were intimate?
Yes.
Trump often boasts about recording conversations which can be used as insurance, so it's bitterly ironic if one comes back to bite him. Peter Stefanovic, NBN News.
There were major concerns for dozens of people as flames tore through a unit block in Sydney southwest. Gas cylinders inside threatened to explode, the fire destroying the entire top level, all of it sparked by a common household item.
Burnt to its core, every item inside this top floor unit is charred and unrecognisable. It's where the blaze started at 4 o'clock this morning.
And the fire was through the windows when the crews arrived. It had got into the roof, a colour-one roof which holds the heat and the flames inside.
It eventually burst through the roof.
It was going massive and massive. There was a lot of black smoke coming out, things are falling apart.
The tenant says he'd left a heater on too close to the bed, with the covers catching alight.
Luckily he woke up, saw the fire, did no good, and got out.
30 people were evacuated from the Hampton Road complex, including neighbour Saiful Islam and his wife.
The fire came out and I lost everything there.
His wife is here in Australia on a student visa doing her Masters of Accounting.
Yeah, I'm in mental trauma. My wife, she can't talk. Brother, he saw that. She's in very bad condition.
Thankfully, working smoke alarms kicked in, waking the residents. But a number of LPG gas bottles inside caused major concern.
There were 2 LP gas cylinders in the room. They were undamaged, luckily.
While fire has destroyed the whole top level of the building, every other unit in the complex has been damaged by the enormous amount of smoke and water still leaking through every floor. Neighbours are helping the families who have lost everything try to manage the mess.
I'm new in Australia. It's been like 5 months I'm here. So I have no idea where I will go now.
Zara James, NBN News.
John Hunter Hospital has been unable to confirm the condition of a 3-year-old girl who was pulled unconscious from a small backyard dam in the Hunter Valley yesterday. 5 ambulance crews were called to the Greta property at around 2 p.m. Paramedics treated the toddler at the scene before she was rushed to hospital. Adelaide Archbishop Philip Wilson has received another national call to step down, this time from his own church. Australia's National Council of Priests has taken an extraordinary stand, saying if he doesn't step aside, then the Pope must remove him.
The Archbishop of Adelaide continues to fall from grace. Now it's the National Council of Priests distancing itself. The executive wholeheartedly supporting the push for Philip Wilson to resign from his senior position, saying his tenure as Archbishop has been compromised and the Holy Father, Pope Francis, should remove him for the good of the Church. Hunter abuse survivors say it's an extraordinary move. Francis should remove him for the good of the Church. Hunter abuse survivors say it's an extraordinary move.
I thought, wow, this is really, really powerful. In this whole Catholic Church child abuse scandal, we've struck another landmark.
The National Council believes in Wilson's right to appeal his conviction, but says remaining in office for the duration of his trial gives the appearance of inequity, labelling it an affront to natural justice and galling to the Church.
Well, this is very strong language, using the word galling, that he is staying in his position, that he refuses to resign. His position, I mean, it was untenable a month ago. It was probably untenable a year ago.
Wilson is appealing his conviction for concealing child sexual abuse and says he will only step down if unsuccessful. Samantha Long, NBN News.
A Newcastle family has made the heartbreaking decision to part with their home to fund their business through the light rail project. But in a vote of confidence for the city's future, Nora Shara says she has no regrets.
It's midday on Saturday and the Flying Tiger is open for lunch. But there's a key ingredient missing.
There's just nobody outside, and this is the general trade. We're really struggling with the lunchtime trade.
However, the family behind the business has a belief in Newcastle's future.
We do love, we've grown up in Newcastle and we really hope that all these changes will be an exciting venture for us.
Survival comes in many forms. For Nora Shara and her twin daughters, it's meant the ultimate sacrifice, selling their family home of 25 years to prop up their business and 20 staff.
We had to move forward. I had to make a decision, and I couldn't let down the people that supported me.
An agonising decision, but they were left with no choice. The World War II themed restaurant opened in November. Its section of Hunter Street closed a week later for light rail construction. Covers fell from a consistent 240 a night to just 50, but they've refused to give in.
I've had some good support. People are just coming in and we're seeing them week to week, so it's been fantastic.
As parts of Hunter Street begin to reopen for the Shara family business, there's still at least 6 weeks to go. But in the ultimate show of resilience, they're determined the investment will be worth every cent.
It's going to turn around. It's only going to go upwards from here. And I think once everything's tidy and finished outside, it's going to look amazing. Newcastle's going to be the place to be.
And with an outlook like that, the future's looking bright. Stephen Mount, NBN News.
Newcastle's rugby league community took a stand against domestic violence today, with thousands making a public pledge to respect each other at the Knights' home game. Under charity Got Your Back Sister helped the crowd unite in one voice with a very important message. And Sam Jordan will have a full wrap of the Knights' win later in sport.